Good morning. This is Susan, and this is Susan's Ramblings. Today I am going to read to you from a book. The book is called The Shepherd of the Hills. 60 years ago, when I was in high school, yes, I'm that old. 60 years ago, a group of us girls, 5 or 6 of us, would check out a book in the library, and then if we liked it, we would pass it around to the others. And this was one of the books that was passed around. This is one we all like. So I'm going to read it to you. I'll start with just the beginning, and we'll read for a couple chapters, and then we will quit, and we will read the rest of it, read some more tomorrow, along with some other things. I've got other things planned. With the price of eggs again, I think every year I have to come up with substitutes for eggs. Every year I do it. Another thing I've got is a Tumi Hall. I don't know if that's how they pronounce it. Anyway, you know that Chinese online place? Anyway, I got a big haul from there. Don't normally haul from there. I don't do it as often as other people do. Once or twice a week. I might do it once or twice a month. Once or twice every 2 months. Something like that. This happened to be one order that all came in at once. And it kind of surprised me. But first of all, and I'll also have a recipe for you tomorrow. My recipe will be Tupperware bread. I love that recipe. It's very easy to make. No kneading, no nothing. Just make it and bake it. And it is good. Alright, that's what we got lined up for tomorrow, for the next few days. We'll go with this one first to begin with. The Shepherd of the Hills. The Two Trails. This, my story, is a very old one. In the hills of life, there are two trails. One trail lies along the higher sunlit fields, where those who journey see afar, and the light lingers even when the sun is down. The other leads to the lower ground, where those who travel always look over their shoulders with the eyes of dread, and gloomy shadows gather long before the day is done. This, my story, is the story of a man who took the trail that leads to the lower ground, and of a woman who and how she found her way to the higher sunlit fields. It all happened in the Ozark Mountains, many miles away from civilization. In life, it has happened many, many times, as in before, and in many, many places. The two trails lead to far. The story, so very old, is still in the telling. Preacher Bill, who runs the ferry, says, when God looked upon the work of his hands and called it good, he was sure looking at this here Ozark country, rough country. Well, yes, it was made that way on purpose. Ain't nothing to a flat country, nohow. Just look at how much more country there is in this way. Take 40 acres of flat, and it's just 40 acres. You take 40 acres of this here Ozark country, and God Almighty only knows how much it is, if it would be rolled out. 'Tain't no wonder God rested when he made these hills. He just naturally had to quit, for he'd done his best, and he was plumb wore out. Of the country Bill had seen, he figured the Mutton Hollow neighborhood was his prettiest. From the Matthews farm on the ridge that shuts in the valley in the north and the east, there is an old trail leading down the mountain. 200 yards below the log barn, the narrow path finds a bench on the steep hill of the hillside, and that level follows around the rim of the hollow, dipping a little at the head of the ravine east of the spring, and then lifting itself over the low, heavily timbered point of one of the higher hills. It comes again into the open, following a rocky edge. Farther on the way leads through a stump of bushes, past the deer lick and the high, low gaps, and then around the base of Boulder Bald, where another ledge, and now out onto the bare shoulders of the Dolly Ball, which partly shuts in the little valley on the south. From the rock of that Sammy Lane called her lookout, the old trail leaves the rim of Mudden Hollow and slips easily down into the lower valleys, down past the little cabin on the southern slope of the mountain where Sammy lived with her father, down to the banks of Fall Creek and to the distant river bottom. Here the thread-like path finds a wider way, leading somehow out of the wilderness to the wide, great earth that lies miles and miles beyond the furthest blue line of the hills. Nobody seems to know how long the narrow path has lain along the mountain, but it must be very long, for it is deeply worn in places. Often swift, leaping deers would cross the ridge at a low gap and follow along the benches to the spring, and sometimes a panther in the belt of timber, or a hard-pawed cougar on some overlaying rock would lay in wait for a fawn or a doe. Or perhaps a timber wolf would sniff the trail and with a wild, echoing howl call his comrades to the chase. When he was little, Jim Lane followed the winding road from the distant river and from nobody knows where beyond, when he came to build his lonely hunter's shack by the spring on the southern slope of Dewey. And last later, when the shack in the timber was replaced with a more substantial settler's cabin, Jim led Sandy's mother along the same way to her new home. Then came the giant Grant Matthews and Aunt Molly and their little family. They followed along the path and went 3 miles past Jim Lane's cabin and built their home where the trail climbs over the ridge. When late Grant Matthews Jr. was 18, his father mortgaged a hard-won homestead on the ridge to purchase the sheep ranch in Mudden Hollow. Then it was another path made, branching off from the belt of the timber from the old trail, and following the spur down into the little valley where the sheep corral was snugly sheltered against the winter winds. So the Lane cabin, the Matthews homestead, and the sheep ranch in Mudden Hollow were all connected by wall-marked paths. But it is the trail that leads from Sammy Lane's home to the big long house where the young Matthews lived that nobody knows is how old. That's it for tonight. We'll see you tomorrow. Please subscribe, like, and comment. Have a great day, and may God bless you.